Hi everyone! The camera stuff is quite a bit different in Unity 6 compared to the previous versions of Unity, which I had the other videos on. So I'm going to go ahead and show this in Unity 6 since it's so different. So first, what you want to do is we want to add the camera that we need. And to do that, we do actually need to add that in Package Manager. We're going to be using something called Cinemachine Camera, which is something that is in Unity by default, but it isn't added to your Unity project by default. So to do that, we're going to go to Window, Package Manager. We want to switch this to Unity Registry on the left side here. And then in Unity Registry, let's search CINE. And you'll see we have this Cinemachine one in the Packages section. Cinemachine is the one that we do want to add. So click on Cinemachine and then go ahead and click on Install. And it might say something other than install for you if you've never installed it before. So you'd click that and then click Install if it says something different there. All right, and once you've installed it, you'll see this Remove button. We don't need to click that, of course, but that just means it's installed fully. And now we're ready to add a Cinemachine camera. So what you might think for adding your camera is we could just use this main camera. And because it's not following our player right now, what we could do is we could attach this to our player like our ground check. And that way, if it's a child of our player, it's going to follow their movement. So let's try that out first, and we'll see what options we have and why we need a Cinemachine camera. So when I move left and right, you see I'm all of a sudden in the middle of nowhere. That's because of this setting here in clipping planes on our camera. If you set that near to 0, and we go back to play, you'll see it's no longer launching me away, but it is still flipping this camera pretty much to the other side of the screen whenever we're moving. So then you could think, okay, what if I center this on my character? I've set all these positions to 0. Now if I hit play, it is going to look a lot smoother, but Cinemachine is going to give us a whole lot more control over our camera movement. That's going to let us have this really smooth back and forth movement. And it's going to also allow us to have our camera trail behind our player or in front of our player in specific ways that will make the quality of life of our game feel so much better and it feel a lot more polished and juiced up. So let's go ahead and see what options we have there. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to unparent my main camera from my character so that it's no longer following the movement of my character, because we're going to have our camera following our character in a different way for Cinemachine. So I'm just going to click my main camera that's attached to my character currently, and you can drag it either at the bottom area where we have a lot of space, that works, or you can drag it to anywhere you see a blue line. That will show that it's going under something but not attached to something. So that's also an option for where to place that. So once your camera isn't attached to anything, let's go ahead and we're going to hit the plus button in the hierarchy, or you can right click anywhere empty. And under Cinemachine, which is now added since we added that in the package manager, let's go to targeted cameras and we'll add a 2D camera. All right, and you'll see it added this Cinemachine camera object here. That's going to control our main camera, so we do still need our main camera object. And that's why we did need to unparent our main camera from our character. And in this Cinemachine camera, you'll see I have some different options here, a whole lot more options than in our regular camera. And I also have this option called Tracking Target, which right now it's set to none. Let's go ahead and grab our character from the hierarchy, click and drag that all the way into that Tracking Target box. All right. So once we have our character as the tracking target, if I hit play, you're going to see that we have this movement that's now this smooth camera movement back and forth. It's not just snapping as we move back and forth. I'm going to show you how we can add some more control to this. You also might notice, it might be hard to see in the video, but my character is shaking a little bit. It might show you better on your screen, but it feels a little bit jittery. So I'm going to also fix that. If you want your camera zoomed in more or zoomed out more, you can also adjust this lens size. You can type in this box, or you can click on this little O to the left and click and drag that to zoom in and out. And that box, that white box around our character, is going to show you how zoomed in or zoomed out this is. So you'll see with that zoomed in, I'm now going to be able to see my character a little bit better. You might be able to see that jittery movement on my character now. All right, so we'll fix that jittery movement in a second. So let's go ahead and play with some of our other options first. The first one I want to talk about is this dead zone option. Let's go ahead and check that on. And if I go into my play mode, we can see what this does. So we can see that plus that was previously just going straight through our character is now this box. And what this box does is if our character moves within this box, our camera is not going to move. It's only going to start moving once we leave this box to trail our character. So we can use this to have a little bit more smooth movement so that our character isn't, or our camera isn't moving every time we make a little small adjustment. It's not going to move back and forth. So that can be really good for quality of life of our game. Let's go ahead and adjust the size of this dead zone. Maybe decrease the X a little bit. And maybe I want my Y to follow more or less. So if I set my Y a little bit smaller, that's going to make it so that my camera is actually following my character better. The reason I might want to set this smaller is if I'm jumping up an obstacle course, I want to be able to see where I'm going. So if I have this dead zone too far and I jump, I can see less of where I'm going since my camera is not actually trailing me there. So having this Y value at a lower number is going to be better so that our camera follows our character and we can see the direction we're headed. All right, so once you have those at numbers you're happy with, go ahead and remember those in your head. I have 0.17 for X and 0.002 for Y, because when we hit that unplay, it is going to set those back. All right, cool. So now I've just changed those back to what I had those at. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is this look ahead option. Let's go ahead and check this on and let's see what this does. So I'm going to hit play so that we can see in real time what this does. If I turn up this time on look ahead, you'll see now instead of my camera being farther behind my player, like I'm seeing more behind my player than in front of my player. If I turn look ahead up, I'm now seeing more in front of my character for longer instead of more behind my character. Since we're moving throughout the level, we want to be able to see more of where we're headed versus where we're coming from. So this look ahead can be really useful not only for smooth camera adjustment, but also to be able to see where we're going a little bit better. So if I increase this a little bit more, you'll see now I see even further in front of myself. It does get a little bit snappy, so really just playing with this time number and getting that to a spot that you're happy with. The smoothing doesn't work too great when you're also doing a dead zone like I have on my camera. You'll see it makes it so that that look ahead is not really working as well. You're welcome to play with the smoothing, but you'd probably need it to be something really low in order to work properly with the dead zone. So I'm just going to leave the smoothing on 0, and let's play with the time until I'm happy with the amount of look ahead that I have there. I think that's pretty good to me. We can even select this whole value and copy it with Control-C. That way I don't need to remember it when I go out of play to actually make that change. The other thing we'll talk about here is this ignore Y checkbox that we have. So with the look ahead, if I don't have ignore Y on, it's going to also show more ahead of my character when we jump. And that's fine. With this, with our camera's smoothing, it doesn't really look bad. But if we had a lot of look ahead, so I'll just change this for now. If I have a lot of look ahead and I jump, I'm getting a lot of camera movement, and that can be really hard to follow for a player and really kind of nauseating, honestly. So we don't want the Y to be in play for that. I mean, honestly, having it up this much in any way is going to be a bit nauseating. So if you like where your look ahead time is at and you like having the Y movement, you're welcome to leave that on. But try it out. Check on that ignore Y and see if you like that better. It used to work a little bit worse, honestly, with the previous version of Cinemachine, so that is one change that's for the better in the newer version, is without that ignore Y on, it does feel a lot smoother than it used to, which is really nice. So you're welcome to leave that off or turn that on depending on the kind of movement that you want for your game. So I'll go ahead and just leave that off. All right, and last thing I want to talk about with the cameras is actually getting this jittering fixed up. So let's go ahead and click on our main camera object. And let's change the update method in Cinemachine Brain, which is attached to that main camera object. Let's change that from Smart Update, the update method here, to Fixed Update. Now if I hit play, if you were still noticing jittering, it should be stopped now. And if you weren't noticing jittering, if you jump off, if you didn't have it on Fixed Update, you might notice jittering there when we're moving really fast as we're gaining that speed as we're falling. And you'll see I'm not actually noticing that jittering there, even when I'm moving at that fast pace. Very cool. So that covers everything with the Unity 6 cameras. The rest of the video that I have in the previous version of Unity you can follow along with. Everything's the same for the rest of that video. All right, have a good one. Bye.